Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do a deep dive into 10 more of the greatest werewolf horror movies of all time. This is part 2, so if there's a movie you're not seeing on this list, there's a good chance it's over on part 1. So definitely go check that out. But with that, let's get to the list!
The next day,
I found his forearm
in my garage.
The only way you can break the curse is to kill the person who started it all.
Cursed is a 2005 horror comedy directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. The film stars Christina Ricci, Jesse Eisenberg, and Joshua Jackson. A werewolf loose in Los Angeles changes the lives of 3 young adults after they are mauled by the beast.
Help me! Are you okay? Do you hear that? What's going on up there?
So I feel like this movie is kind of underrated because yes, this isn't nearly as good of a film as it could have been if Wes Craven had had the freedom to make the movie he wanted to make, and supposedly there is a Wes Craven cut out there somewhere in the ethos that a lot of us horror fans have been dying to see. Who knows if we'll ever actually get it. But either way, I still think this movie is a lot of fun. But if this had been the film that Wes Craven was going for, this not only would have been one of the greatest werewolf movies ever made, but it could have led to a whole entire another franchise. Because that's kind of what Wes Craven did with Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, just these huge juggernaut franchises. And working again with Kevin Williamson, there was a good chance that this would have done the same thing. But unfortunately, the studio meddled with it, changed a lot of things, took a lot of the teeth, so to speak, out of this movie, and it ended up being dumbed down and a little bit too much of a confusing teen mess. But I still think it's a lot of fun. There's still some great kills, some great creature designs, and just a really cool early 2000s vibe to it. I always have a great time watching this little gem, and definitely think it deserves more love.
The next day, I found
Lou, you're a wolf.
Cop.
WolfCop is a 2014 Canadian comedy horror movie. Written and directed by Lowell Dean, it stars Jesse Moss, Amy Matasio, and Jonathan Cherry. The plot's about an alcoholic small-town cop who transforms into a werewolf after being cursed.
Holy hell.
This is a stupid, but very, very fun movie, and that's why it's on this list. This is a movie that you gotta kind of check your brain at the door and just go in to have a good time. Nothing serious whatsoever, but it gets gory in the most fun way. It gets violent and over the top with crude humor. Just everything is turned up to level 11. There are so many surprises in this movie that just absolutely catch you off guard. But it's just a silly, fun little movie, very indie style, not a huge budget. And that's a lot of its charm as well. I think it's really smartly put together, it's colorful and exciting and just an absolute ride. Late Phases is a 2014 drama horror movie. Directed by Adrian Garcia Bagliano, it stars Nick DeMisi, Lance Guest, and Tom Noonan. The story's about a secluded retirement community that is plagued by mysterious attacks until a grizzled blind war veteran moves in.
Dolores! Dolores! Dolores!
This is such a badass, very little talked about movie. It comes at the werewolf genre from a really different angle, because your hero is this old man protecting this old folks community that reminded me in some ways of Bubba Hotep with Bruce Campbell, because it has that elderly character just kicking some ass, but it doesn't come at it from a campy, silly angle. It's a straight up werewolf movie meant to be serious. It's another small production movie that has a really solid cast that all give it their best, and the special effects and creature designs are well done as well. This is an exciting, fun little movie that when you're talking about werewolf movies seems to be overlooked most of the time, but I think it's one that deserves more shine. So if you've never seen it, definitely get on it and check it out.
You know the next, like a little doggy bag.
Maybe we're all werewolves!
Are we really in a Mexican standoff right now?
Baby, don't say Mexican. Just stand up.
Werewolves Within is a 2021 mystery horror comedy directed by Josh Rubin from a screenplay by Mishna Wolf. It stars Sam Richardson, Milana Bointrub, and George Basil. The story follows a group of people in a small town who get trapped in a snowstorm, only to suspect that one of them is a werewolf.
Everything here is a little questionable. Ranger! The people. The weather. Everything.
This movie is so much fun. It's full of charm, it's witty, and just absolutely hilarious. But as much as it is a comedy, it definitely has horror as well. There's gore and some really gruesome kills and moments with a dark sense of humor. It's my favorite type of comedy horror movie, where it is comedy, but it doesn't shy away from its horror elements as well. And it really is a whodunit. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of the movie Clue. So it's like the movie Clue, but if you injected this creature feature into it as well. It's well directed, and the cast does a fantastic job, and they have great chemistry. They really feel like real people. But the dialogue is just so fantastic. It's witty and intelligent kind of humor that you gotta pay attention to, but it also is silly and campy at the same time. And for those werewolf lovers like me, it has some fantastic werewolf moments. This is a fantastic movie that is an absolute must for any fan of horror.
You know the next day,
I found this forearm.
The Company of Wolves, where fairy tales end and nightmares begin.
The Company of Wolves is a 1984 British fantasy horror movie. Directed by Neil Jordan, it stars Angela Lansbury, David Warner, and Sarah Patterson. A teenage girl in a country manor falls asleep while reading a magazine and has a disturbing dream involving wolves prowling in the woods outside her window. So up until just a few weeks ago, I had never even heard of this movie. But when I was doing research for the last werewolf list, I came across it. A lot of people had mentioned it being one of their favorite werewolf movies. So I figured, hey, I'll check it out. But it's very well done. For one, I love Angela Lansbury. Just, she feels like the grandma I always wished I had kind of thing. I grew up watching Murder, She Wrote and enjoyed Bedknobs and Broomsticks, an old Disney movie as a kid. So I really enjoy her. So her being in it was just like icing on the cake. But it has really cool werewolves and wolves in general and creepy environments. And it's done in this really cool way where it almost feels like it's an anthology because it has these multiple kind of stories, but they're all connected. And it's moody with tons of creepy atmosphere and well done special effects and creature designs. This is an absolute treasure that I'm pleased to say is now one of my favorite werewolf movies. So it definitely deserves to be on this list.
you know the next day,
What's wrong with you?
Bad Moon.
Bad Moon is a 1996 Canadian horror movie. Written and directed by Eric Red, it stars Michael Paré, Mariel Hemingway, and Mason Gamble. The film's about a mother and her son who are threatened by her brother, who struggles to overcome the curse of lycanthropy.
Here, Poochie Poochie? Come here, you friggin' stupid dog.
This is absolutely a great little gem. Definitely another one that's very under the radar. Nobody really talks about this movie, and it's kind of surprising. I get it on one hand because it is kind of low budget, doesn't have the greatest acting. It almost feels a little bit anyway, like a soap opera. It just kind of has that actor level, but this has some very cool special effects and absolutely one of my favorite werewolf designs, period. The practical effects in general are really why this movie's worth your time. But it also has an interesting, entertaining story with some fun characters and some really interesting plot twists. It's so entertaining and definitely deserves to get more love in the werewolf genre. So definitely check it out. Police officer struggles not to give in to the paranoia that grips his small mountain town as bodies turn up after each full. Such a fantastic little movie, and one that really flew under the radar. Even for me, I didn't hear about it until the beginning of 2021, a few months after its release. And that's wild because I feel like I keep up pretty close on movies that are being released. But there was a buzz that was growing pretty quick after its release, and as soon as I heard Werewolf, that caught my attention and immediately I had to get on it. And ever since, I've been highly recommending this movie because it's so well done. The acting is great. The comedy is a unique form of comedy. It's not overtly funny, but it's still really entertainingly funny at the same time. Especially as you see this cop slowly going down the drain into insanity. Like he just starts to really lose his shit. And it's a blast to watch. And it really twists all over the place. It keeps you guessing all the way to the very end, where there is a really nice payoff. But I don't want to spoil too much because I know a lot of you still haven't seen this movie. But if you're a fan of werewolf movies and you've yet to see this, you definitely, absolutely need to watch this. It's over on Amazon Prime right now, so if you have a Prime membership, it's free, and it's one that I highly recommend.
The next, like a little doggy bag.
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Brotherhood of the Wolf is a 2001 French action horror movie. Directed by Christopher Gans and stars Samuel Le Bihan, Vincent Cassel, and Marc Dacascos. In 18th century France, the king sends a renowned scientist and his brother to hunt down a beast that's on a killing spree. But the true nature of the beast is not what anybody had anticipated. This is such an epic, amazingly shot movie. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just this huge, grand spectacle of a movie that has this really cool werewolf period story interwoven all the way through. The costume designs and everything about it is just on this really grand level. And the cast do a really great job. It is French language, so you're gonna have to read subtitles, but I very much think it's worth it. I do know there is a dubbed version out there, so if you hunt a little, you could probably find the dubbed version. I always recommend the subtitle version if you can, because you just don't have those translation issues, and it usually always feels better in its native tongue. But this movie is just so brilliant. It's just this wonderful action adventure that just takes you on this extremely cool journey. And it goes in a lot of directions, ones you're not going to really expect, with an ending that is very surprising. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think it absolutely is one of the greatest werewolf movies ever done.
The next day, I found this
The Wolfman is a 2010 period horror movie, directed by Joe Johnston and a remake of the 1941 film The Wolfman. It stars Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, and Emily Blunt. After his brother is brutally murdered, an actor based in America returns to his ancestral homeland in England, where he is bitten by a werewolf.
Hello, Father. You've come for the funeral. What happened? Your brother's body was found in the ditch. He'd been torn to pieces.
So this movie is a strange one for me, because I'm not a huge fan of CGI, and this is very CGI heavy. But there's still so much passion, so much love, and so much effort and care put into everything in this movie that I can kind of look the other way and just kind of lean into it. So I very much enjoy it. But at the same time, it doesn't ever reach that top pinnacle for werewolf movies for me just because it doesn't have enough practical effects. But I do love the look of it. It has almost this graphic novel look about it. And hearing how much Benicio del Toro fought for this movie and how much he put into this movie of his own money and effort and time and energy, he was just such a huge fan of this property and really wanted to make the best version of this movie he possibly could. And passion like that just translates onto the screen, and you can really feel that and really see that. The wardrobe and set design, the way people talk, everything just feels meticulous, and that there was so much detail in every single scene put into it. It's exciting and epic with fantastic acting across the board. Everyone involved does a great job. I just think it's a gorgeous, epic movie that if you just go into it and don't judge it for what it isn't, but just enjoy it for what it is, you really will have a good time with it. I just think it's been way too harshly judged, and a lot of it is because of that practical effects. A lot of us horror fans, especially werewolf fans, we really want to see more of the practical effects. It just doesn't have that same power to us if it doesn't have the practical effects. And I get that, I really do. But I still think this movie is way too harshly critiqued, and one that maybe it's time for a revisit. Either way, I have a great time with it and absolutely had to put it on this list.
You know, the next day,
I found his forearm.
in my
Wolfen.
Wolfen is a 1981 crime drama horror movie. Directed by Michael Wadley, it stars Albert Finney, Diane Venora, Gregory Hines, and Edward James Olmos. The film follows a city cop who has been assigned to uncover what is behind a series of vicious murders.
There's not a trace, not a speck of metal. Nothing soft that could have ripped and ravaged like this.
Is it an animal?
Well, it ain't human.
So I really enjoy crime thrillers. It's one of my favorite type of movie besides horror. I'm also a fan of true crime and just that world as well. And I love how this movie takes that crime drama and puts it into a horror movie, because this movie is still horror. There's plenty of violence and disturbing imagery and uncomfortable scenes and just this creepy, ominous overall feeling. The werewolves with the whole Native American twist I really enjoy. Just in general, this movie has this really cool folklore, old world type of story to it. And I love the 1970s look and style of fashion, the way it's shot, that really kind of weird special effect they put on it when the wolf is about to attack. It's just fun, it has charm, but it's just also a well done movie that has a real interesting take on the whole werewolf story. It's absolutely one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time, and one that there was no way in hell I was gonna make a werewolf list, including the last one, without talking about this in one way or another. It's a lot of reason why I split this into two lists, because there was just no way I could fit just 10 werewolf movies and be done talking about that subject. So rather than doing an honorable mention, because that would be disingenuous for me as well, because to be honest, the 10 from the last list could be interchanged with a lot of the ones here, because I just can't pick. Because there's ones from both lists that I absolutely love and feel are some of my favorite movies ever. So rather than trying to do that, I just decided, screw it, I'm making another list so that way Wolfen can get love as well, and some of the other ones too. This is just one of my absolute favorite subgenres, hands down, and one that I just loved talking about. If you guys would like to see me do another wolf list, keep them coming. Keep suggesting down in the comments different werewolf movies that I have yet to talk about. And if I compile enough for another list, screw it, I'll come back and do a third werewolf list. We'll keep this going forever, as long as you can come up with werewolf movies and I can find them, because I just love this subject. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this video out. If you enjoyed this, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I post videos like this at least once every single week. I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here, because you guys mean so much to me. You guys are a big reason why I'm able to do this full time now, because it's not just the money, it's actually way more than that. It's just that feeling of knowing that people believe in what I'm doing. It makes me take that risk. It makes it feel like I can do this and just keep pushing myself. But if you'd like to find out how you can become a member over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member, there's a little button right down there that says join. But you can only join by using a PC, a laptop or desktop. For whatever reason, you can't do it right now through a phone or tablet. Stupid, but hopefully YouTube will get that sorted out. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun! If you enjoy this, click right here to see part 1 of this werewolf journey, or click right here to see 10 of my favorite vampire movies. And I'll see you guys next time!